A real pleasure to have you here. And he is coming to us from a great part of the country, folks. Beautiful La Jolla, California. And how's the weather out there, Dave? I'm sure really, really beautiful, Doc.
It is. It is. It's very nice out here. It's a mild climate, mostly sunny all the time.
Where do you hail from originally? Where is the home base for you at first?
Well, actually, I am from Southern California. I have lived other places in the world, though. I lived in Brazil for a few years. I lived in Mexico a few years. I lived in Miami Beach, Florida for a few years. And I decided to come back to where I'm from, which is Southern California. For one thing, this is kind of the recording capital of the world still. And so a lot of the music contacts are out here.
You know, you've done so much in all these years of music. You are a revered chart topping, award winning composer, musician, guitarist, contemporary jazz. Everybody listening, you have heard his music on the air for years. He's got lots of new music out as well, which we're very, very excited about. When you look at it and you go back in time, sort of rewind and dive into that time machine, Dr. Dave, first, people are probably wondering, how did he get the moniker Dr. Dave? I was telling you about here on the show. Once I said the show has a lot of light, love, levity, and I stumbled and I said the show has a lot of levity, love and levity. So the audience said, okay, that day forward, Mr. Masters, you are now Mr. Levity. You're Dr. Dave. How did the whole Dr. Dave thing develop for you?
Well, it's an interesting story, actually. I was when I first started playing jazz. I was in a band, and on the break, I was doing some scatting on the guitar, like Benson does with the notes. And the band members all looked at me and they said, "We didn't know you could do that. Look at this guy, Dr. Dave, Doctor of the Guitar." That's where the nickname actually came from. So when I put out my first album, I actually just used my name, Dave Hatherill. The music director at one of the radio stations gave me a call, and she said she'd been promoting my new album and she's been using my name, and she says nobody knows who you are. And then she says Dr. Dave, and she goes, everybody knows who you are, so you really need to release your album under Dr. Dave. And so that was Kelly Cole from KIFM radio, and that was back in the 90s. And ever since then, Dr. Dave has caught on. People remember it, and that's what counts.
That's what counts, and that is terrific. What a great way to have that develop. He's really a master and a doctor in so many different ways. And you are when you're near an instrument, magic actually comes out of that instrument. What first inspired you? Did you grow up in a household, Dr. Dave, surrounded by music? What were the early influences in your life that turned you on to music in general?
Well, actually, I didn't. I do admire the musicians that did grow up in a household. I did not. I was inspired originally. I was watching some old Elvis Presley as a little kid, with some old Elvis Presley movies, and I liked him, and he played the guitar, so I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and that's how I started. And I just picked it up, found an old guitar, and started playing with some friends, and just took it from there.
Now, did you get formal lessons or were you teaching yourself? How did you learn how to actually take the guitar and then make music from it?
Well, my dad told me that if he'll buy me a guitar, but only if I take a few lessons. So I actually took 4 lessons, enough to get the guitar, and then I just started learning by ear. I would play songs over and over and over again, and I would listen to what was played, and I would copy the notes, and then I would play in different bands. And when I got into jazz, that's how I learned. Also, I started sitting in with players, and in jazz, it's really nice. It's a nice sharing kind of music. They let people sit in all the time, unlike other forms of music. And there was a club that I used to go to, and it was a bunch of old retired black jazz musicians. These guys were great, and they welcomed me. I got this young kid walking in and asking him to sit in every Sunday night, and I would play with them, and then I would ask them questions, and I would go home and I would practice what they told me, and I would get out the records and I would play along with some of the jazz songs that I admired and liked, and I would go back the following Sunday and try it out. So I kind of learned the old school way. That's how I got into jazz.
That's really cool. Who were you admiring and inspired by? Who are some of the greats that you were listening to early on that were sort of piquing your interest in the world of jazz?
Well, my first introduction to jazz was George Benson.
Mm.
And on this masquerade, I was listening to the radio and this song came on, and the solo he did in the middle, I'd never heard anything like it before. So I talked to a friend of mine who was already listening to jazz. And he said, "Yeah, you got to listen to his whole album." So I went over to his house and we listened to the whole album, and I was hooked at that point in time. And I started listening to all the the different jazz players of the time, which was like Grover Washington, Herbie Hancock, Stanley Turrentine, Freddie Hubbard, who I ended up playing with later on, Ernie Watts, and I would just copy what they were doing. I would play by ear and I would play to their music. So that was the closest thing to actually playing with them. And Wes Montgomery was another one that I picked up from, and so that's who I grew up with. The CTI guys, Grover Washington Jr., which Grover and I had a conversation one night when he was out in this area, and we were going to do an album together. And unfortunately, he died soon thereafter. So you just never know. You got to really take advantage of every moment of life, because you just never know when your calling is going to come, and your time here is going to be done. So I try to make as as much out of every moment I possibly can, and that's a good example.
That's a great example of it, and great names you mentioned there as well. How does being there, on the coast in Southern California, inspire, the environment where you are, inspire your music and what you do as well? Do you soak that all in?
There's a lot of good players out here between Los Angeles. There's a lot of studio work that goes on up there, and a ton of studios up there to choose from. When I recorded with Freddie Hubbard, we used a studio up in Hollywood, and and then when I recorded with Ernie Watts, he was actually doing a concert down here with Lee Ritenour. So he said he was in the area anyway. So why don't he drop in, and we did the studio work. Ronnie Laws and his brother Hubert Laws were down in the area also, because Ronnie was doing a concert. And when they live in Los Angeles, and so it's you have real good access to all the different musicians here to go ahead and have conversations, and you never know where those conversations are going to lead to. And then in these cases, it led to them participating in the album. For example, the new song "Reserved for Abby" features Ronnie Laws on saxophone, and it was just a thrill to play with him. And then, being that his brother was already down here, I wrote another song for his brother called "I Hold My Pillow," and his brother just killed it. It was unbelievable what great musicians those guys are. But that's the way the scene is down here. There's great musicians everywhere.
Exactly. You mentioned Ronnie, who is another, legend in the industry as well. How did you guys get connected initially?
Well, with Ronnie, he was doing a concert and down here, and the guys that he was using to back him up were musicians that I knew. So I went ahead and showed up backstage one night, and then on just before he went on stage, I introduced myself. We talked for a while, and invited him to play uh, on my album, and we were going in the studio that weekend. And he loved the idea, and so it was actually the next day after he did the concert that we went ahead into the studio and did that. And then after that, we all went and played tennis together. His brother, their wives, and myself.
I mentioned you've been doing this for a long time, and you've really, your legacy is intact, and there's new music that's out, which is exciting for everybody as well. What would you say if you take a look at all of it? What was that moment for you that was really crucial and pivotal, where people really noticed how good you were and wanted to either work with you, collaborate with you, bring you in? All of a sudden your name recognition and the appreciation for your talent started to really expand. What was a moment or two that you look back at and say, boy, if that hadn't happened, or thank God that door opened, and then things started to progress for you? Because, a lot of people who are composers and musicians and what have you, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and toil and struggle and pounding the pavement and getting the word out. And, they get to a certain level and that's about it. And sometimes they move on to other things. You've been able to maintain this incredible career and take some breaks and then come back out and breathe and live as well, which is important for all of us. What would be a couple of moments that stand out for you as really important ones early on in your career, Dr. Dave?
Well, I'd say the biggest one was I was originally a club jazz musician. I was playing in a club, and there was a player, I think it was from Spyro Gyra, as I recall, and he came and talked to me on the break and said he really liked my playing, would like to invite me to do some studio work up in Los Angeles. So that was the first one. The second thing was when I got together with Carl Evans of the Fatburger Band. Um, I asked him to produce the album. It was my first album, and we went in the studio, and then everything just flowed really nice. And I signed a record. I signed with a small record label. Back in those days, you couldn't get anything on the radio unless you were signed with a record label. And there was a small jazz record label called Offshore Music, and it was a great experience. And we would have meetings, and in the process, he would teach me how to run a record label because he would share with all his artists what he was doing. But his name was Jason Tip, and he's a musician now. He's got his music out there also as well. We give him a little plug here because he's a great pianist. But when it got on the radio, actually my first album got on the charts, number 42 on the charts in those days. And for a first album release, that was very impressive. All of a sudden, I started getting recognition. I started getting phone calls, invites to do jazz festivals, invites to do radio interviews and television interviews as well. So it was just the exposure, the radio exposure, and the association with the Fatburger Band, I think, is what did it.
I mean, those are great names, Fatburger, Spyro Gyra. I mean, look at the success of their groups as well, and the folks involved, and great sound, great music, great musicians, so skilled and talented, and to be working with them as well. You also have a um, connection with the Tonight Show, the Roots, and the whole thing, which would really surprise people who are not aware of it. And it's actually tied to music that you've created. And it's Hey, Hey, Hey. Tell us about this. And there was, I know, a moment or two where you were actually going to appear on the Tonight Show. But then, of course, that dreaded pandemic came. But when people hear Hey, 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 you doing your thing. Tell us about that.
Well, when I watched the Tonight Show, I loved what the Roots did with the introduction song. It wasn't really a song. It was just introduction music, so they could introduce. And here he is, Jimmy Fallon, but it wasn't a song. So I thought, that would be cool to make that into a song. So I got together with some musicians and we wrote the song. And it actually did really well on radio. It hit the top. I think it was the top 15 on the charts. It did real well. And then so Tom Estee talked to the people at the Tonight Show, and they said they'd love to have me on it, and I performed the song with the Roots. 2 weeks later is when the pandemic hit, and that's when the Tonight Show quit having guests on. So, but at least I know at one point in time I was booked to be on the Tonight Show. So I take a little pride in that.
And look what happened. You're on the Jim Masters show. See,
On the Jim Masters Show, just as good.
it's full circle. It's
yeah. This is my second chance. Yeah, there we go.
And if it makes you feel good, I still have cousins that call me Jimmy. So you might not be on that Jimmy yet. You probably will be, but you're on this Jimmy show.
Then I'll introduce you as the song's being played in the background.
You're on this Jimmy show. Exactly right. which is fantastic. Do you play other instruments?
Hey, Jim Masters.
Hey, Jim Masters. Exactly right. Have you dabbled in other instruments too? Or is the guitar the main focus for you? Did you pick up other instruments over the years that you enjoy?
I played a little bass. I played a little bit of piano, not much, just enough to communicate with other players. But fooled around with the drums. But I'm really a guitarist.
So we talked about the average location where you are, which is so beautiful and can be inspiring. What are some other things that inspire you to create this incredible music? We had, I mentioned to you before we went on the air that Melissa Manchester is a wonderful friend, and she's been with us several times. She's very into the whole lovity thing, which I think is great. And one of the things I had asked her was, what are some things that inspire you to write these songs, these hit songs, and to belt them out the way you do and the whole bit. And she said, well, the inspiration, Jim, can come from anywhere at any time. Sometimes I could be having a nap and then I wake up with this dream that I had or a bit of inspiration coming out of the dream. And I run to my piano and I've got a recorder sitting next to the piano. And as I'm still experiencing this inspiration, I don't want that to dissipate or to fade. I don't want to put it away and forget about it. I run to the piano, I press record, and whatever is working through me, whatever inspiration is happening, even if it's mumbo jumbo, I'm recording it to save it and then be able to take it and tweak it and turn it into something. Does that happen to you as well when you get an inspiration, no matter where you are? You go to a recorder or a phone or something and save it. And how are you inspired as well? Does similar things happen to you too, Dr. Dave?
Actually, the exact same thing has happened to me many times. I've written songs from dreams that I've had, and luckily I wake myself up in the dream because I love the song so much. It's interesting. And I keep a guitar right next to my bed. So I know if I get up and I play what I dreamt, I will remember it when I wake up. If I don't do that, chances are I won't remember it. And I've written a couple of songs from my dreams. And I absolutely agree with everything that she said in that inspiration does come from something. It can come from being in love with somebody. Uh, uh, it can come from sitting and watching a movie and hearing the background music, and there's a part in that song in the background music that moves me. So I take what I heard and I elaborate into another completely different song just because of one little rhythm section or one little arrangement of background music in the movie or on a commercial or um, you never know. I mean, you'd be watching the sunset. You'd be watching guys surfing in the ocean. You just never know.
Exactly, but you're observant and you're soaking it all in, and you never know when that may turn into music. I mentioned "Hey, Hey, Hey" and the Tonight Show music and all, which is a great story that you shared. And that material on Midnight Dream, extraordinary, and hits coming out of that as well. It's this funky powerhouse horn-drenched album spawned 4 hit singles, starting with the sultry infectiously seductive, Sexy Cindy, one of your biggest hits ever, ranking #1 in the smooth jazz guitar songs in the US and on radio guitar, one top 20. And the song named for Cindy Sanchez Medina. Tell us about this and Sexy Cindy and how that all came to be. Like you mentioned, writing about, people and love and friendship and relationships as well.
Well, Cindy Sanchez Medina was a model, and she was from Colombia, and I found her to be striking. So her beauty inspired me to write the tune, and that's a tune that I could actually pick up a guitar and show you how it started if you like. The tune started with
Absolutely.
a,
Yeah, that would be great.
a cool rhythm um, that moved me, that I thought moved very sensually and sexy, but fun. It's because that was supposed to be a fun song. In fact, if you want to see us actually recording the song, you can go on YouTube, Dr. Dave and the HouseCall Band "Sexy Cindy" music video, and it'll actually show us making the song. But we actually have some clips of Sexy Cindy in there. We made it into a music video. But that started out with just me on the guitar hitting a rhythm, finding this groove on the rhythm that was fun, sexy, but yet moved. And called it Sexy Cindy because it has a nice ring to it. And then I have a music video version with we have singers in there singing Sexy Cindy. She's so pretty, Sexy Cindy. Yeah, you see. Um, and so which makes it a lot of fun and entertaining. And then on a lot of the jazz radio uh, shows, programs, they don't want vocals. They prefer just instrumentals. So I had a version without the vocals on it.
That's really nice. And what was her reaction to it when she heard it?
Oh, she was thrilled.
She
She
must
couldn't.
have been, yeah.
She goes, "How do you do that?"
Did it end up on the radio in Colombia as well?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
because we have worldwide. I have worldwide play now. With
coverage, right.
yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, I get fan mail on via email now from all over the world.
I don't
And
doubt it.
Sexy Cindy on internet digital radio is probably my biggest hit.
Yeah, right,
Because
exactly.
the nice thing about digital radio, unlike the old days, is you can actually TuneCore will actually give you the stats on how many millions of people have been listening to the tune. You know, I'm up into like 5.5 million now fans
Mm,
streaming my music, and Sexy Cindy is actually my biggest hit in terms of numbers of people streaming. The second would be Cecil's Groove,
mhm.
which that one by itself has almost 4 million listeners.
That's incredible. It really is. Well, it's infectious. Once you hear the rhythms, the just everything, you want more of it, and that I can see why millions of people around the world love this material that you put out, Dr. Dave. Looks like you're in a room that has some really cool guitars and everything around you there.
My studio, yeah, I've got about 40 guitars. I call them my tools because each one of them does something the other one doesn't do. And like I've got one, if you don't mind, I'll bring one over
We love it.
here.
Yeah.
I've got one here that's 1953 Gibson, and it produces wonderful sound. It was originally made by Gibson as a quality guitar for children, so it's a 3/4 size. And when I do concerts and I travel, I take these 3/4 size guitars because I can fit them in the overhead of planes. And so this is what I usually use when I'm playing a concert somewhere. In the studio, I use a variety of guitars. Usually a '63 Johnny Smith Gibson is what I use primarily, but they're big body guitars, and I'm always worried about them. These I can put them over the overhead, and I can see it, and I know what's going on, so I don't worry about it. But the sound and quality of this thing is fantastic. So it's actually so you can hear the quality is there.
Very
Um,
nice. It's
if you'd like
beautiful.
me to tell you how Sexy Cindy started, I'll be happy to do that.
Awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
we'd love it, Dr. Dave.
um, this will give you an idea. When I'm thinking of something sexy, the sexy part comes in the groove. So I got to on the guitar just by itself doesn't sound like much. But in my head, I'm visualizing the keyboards, the horns, the singers, the drums, the percussion, and it's all going on in my head. So when I put this thing and lay it, we do it in the studio, I get it out of my head. So it's a sense of relief, actually. But and then I go. So you can imagine
Yeah.
if you go on YouTube and look at Sexy Cindy, Dr. Dave and the HouseCall Band, Sexy Cindy, you'll see us actually putting it together. But it starts out with the guitar just doing that.
That's really cool. When you're playing, when that you're doing even that, what's happening to you inside? Are you transported to another time and place, Dr. Dave? What's happening to you inside?
That's a good question. I've never had anybody pose that question just like that before. Well done. Um, I'm in my own little world. I'm actually in my head and in my body. I'm all feeling, and the thoughts are connected to feeling and sensations when I'm playing. So when I hit something, I'm experiencing every note in that chord in every facet of my body and my brain. And as a result of that, the music takes me into another place, which is another part of the song. So, for example, where did I come up with? Well, I just came up with it from the sensations I was experiencing in my head and my body from hearing that group.
Beautifully said. So, and the reason why I love to ask that is so when people hear the music, they know the intensity, the emotion, and everything that's running through your veins as you are performing it, creating it, composing it. And it takes us as the people who are the benefactors of this, the people appreciating it, the people who receive it, to a deeper level when we know that it's something that runs through your veins, which I think is a cool thing, right?
Absolutely. What I think the non I I'm getting this from conversations I had with non-musicians. They don't they like what they hear, but they don't really understand what the musician experiences. We actually get involved in the melodies, in the notes. When we're playing off of each other, I always say music is as a team sport because just like any other sport, you learn how to play off of each other. You learn what the your teammate likes and doesn't like, and how to support them, how to block for them, how to work together to make it happen. And music's the same way. The musicians that you connect with, they feel where you're going. They add their own contribution that contributes to the nature of the attitude of the song. But in order to do that, they have to have a feeling and a connection with you as a musician. And this is how the songs evolve. Again, back in the studio, if you want to watch Sexy Cindy, that's us actually making the song that you hear on the radio is in fact that song that you will watch as we play it. And we were talking a little bit about it, and it's just an amazing experience. It's almost like you get in, like I'm part of these notes, these like. So the energy that I'm experiencing is transferred to my hand, and the instrument gives back the same another uh, extension of that same energy. You become one.
Exactly. You are tied together. And do you treat the instrument also like a child? These are your children in a way. I know a lot of people, they talk about their instruments in a human way, like they see the humanity in the instrument. They treat it like their children. I've talked to authors of books who have characters they've written in the novel, and they treat the characters like they're very close to, very protective of the characters like their children. Do you feel the same way for the instruments?
I don't see them as my children. I've heard that analogy before. But I do see the guitars as a living entity. If you think about it, every facet of the guitar is moving when you play it. The face, this is vibrant. This is where the sound comes from. The sides and the back, they move in a way that creates a unique sound to that specific instrument. Not just those models of instruments, but that specific instrument. Um, so in that sense, because the wood moves, it's alive. Um, and I view them as two things. One is they're my tools primarily by which I work with. So when I'm working, like any job, like any craftsman, when you got a job, you decide which is the best tool to use. So if I got a song in my head, I decide which guitar would be the best guitar to use for that. They're also art because the luthiers that made these guitars, these are artists. And some of these I don't even play. I have like 40 of them. Some of them I don't really even play them. I have them on display because I love looking at them as an art piece. I have them. I have one in every room of the house just in case I have a music idea. I can grab the guitar and play it because it's very frustrating when you come up with an idea and you don't have a guitar to play and you try to hold on to it and later on you forget it. And boy, is that is very frustrating. So I try to eliminate that from happening as much as possible.
Jay Leno has his cars, Dr. Dave has his guitars. Exactly right. And that's a cool thing. Like I say, the humanity of it all that you assign to it, which I think is really something quite special. For the folks that are joining us, Dr. Dave is here. He's a legend in the music industry. I'm your host, Jim Masters. Thanks for joining us here. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, be sure and give us a thumbs up like on this episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and let us know. Drop a comment below if you're enjoying this conversation, any thoughts you have. And a little bit more of the incredible background of Dr. Dave, too. Longtime fans of contemporary jazz may remember Dr. Dave from his initial success as a recording artist in the mid 1990s when his albums, I Like It Like That, Smooth, and Cruisin' made big splashes in the early days of the smooth jazz format. Now, for us, we were hearing smooth jazz on a lot of stations in the New York area. One of the big stations was CD 101.9, WQCD New York, coming to you from the top of the World Trade Center, the center of the universe, they would say. Those stations were so powerful and so just, they had smooth jazz cruises and just really brought people in. And cruising also featured performances, as you mentioned, by Ronnie and Hubert Laws. But after the initial splash in the genre, you switched gears, moved for a time to Brazil, where you performed for several years as well.
Mhm.
Tell us about moving to Brazil for a while and that transition and what you got from Brazil and how that may have enhanced your work as well. And even going forward, maybe elements of what you picked up being in a beautiful place like Brazil has added to the way you approach things now.
Well, the musician, there's great musicians in Brazil, by the way. I mean, they are fantastic, and they have their own approach, unique approach to music. And when I got into the jazz scene down there, I learned a lot in terms of different approaches. Their approach, the Latin approach, uh, developing, you know, their like samba, for example, and the and their approach to samba and to jazz, and and then they're also they're you have to learn the language, but at the same time, music is a language. And I found that I didn't have, even when I didn't speak Portuguese, I do now, but I didn't when I first got down there. The music was our connection, and that's how we communicated with each other, and we didn't have any problem at all. And music touches. It's a way of communicating in ways that words alone can't. And that's in fact what I found, especially when you're dealing with a language, verbal language barrier. And it was just a great experience. And their feel for music and their rhythms caused me to play differently. So it made me a better player when I came back to the States.
Which is wonderful. And do you ever get back down there, or was that the time and now you're back?
I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's not the same down there. It's a little bit more dangerous now than it was back when I was there. So
Yeah.
I don't see myself ever returning there. But they're wonderful people, very friendly, warm, and they appreciate all forms of music. It was just a wonderful experience.
Absolutely. Part of the riches of life when you get a chance to explore like that. You, of course, then got back into the recording groove and geared up by releasing two compilations of earlier material, some of which had never been played on the radio. And in 2013, you released Love Potion, a collection of romantic songs, which
Mhm.
followed with the perfectly titled The Doctor Is In, full of your early up-tempo tracks. And then the smooth jazz format's embrace of these recordings inspired you to return to the scene with the full force Midnight Daydream. Talk about Love Potion and The Doctor Is In for us, because I know our audience is very proactive. They're going to be Googling, searching, going to Amazon, wherever they can, Spotify, to get more of your music.
Well, the one of the main themes of smooth jazz was it was romantic. So I decided to put together a romantic album with smooth jazz. So this would be the songs on Love Potion. That if you're with your sweetheart, your lover, and you have some wine, and you're sitting by the fireplace or down on the ocean, and two of you are madly in love, this would be the music that would be playing in the background to help stimulate and facilitate the mood in the right direction. Or if you wanted to ask a woman to marry you, you might put on a love potion in the background. It just, that was the nature of the the album.
What do you think it is about? I love smooth jazz. I'm a huge collector of smooth jazz music and have been when ever since it first started being known by people and played on the radio. And even before that, was always in tune with it. I miss going to Tower Records in the New York area, several
Mm,
different locations, and putting the headphones on and spending, you know, half the day on a Saturday listening to all the cuts and the samples of all the different genres of music, not just smooth jazz, but also even some easy listening and orchestral and just everything. I love instrumental. And so I missed that time of being able to do that. What do you think it is about smooth jazz and this contemporary sound that appeals to people? It might be a little more niche than country is or other things that are out there, but there's a
mhm,
very loyal, solid fan base who supports and loves artists like you and all these other incredible the Dave Kazes and just everybody that's out there, David Benoit, all of them. And what do you think it is that resonates with people as they hear this music?
mhm. Speaking of Dave Koz, I actually was on stage with him back I think it was in 2000, 2001, like that. It was a jazz festival. I was on stage with him. But anyway, he's a great guy. Um, I'm gonna as far as smooth jazz. And remember, most people don't understand jazz, straight ahead jazz. You kind of have to be educated or be an educated listener or a musician to really understand what's going on. Smooth jazz, the nice thing about it, when it first came out, it wasn't called smooth jazz, it was called contemporary jazz, pop jazz, fusion jazz. And what it does, it acts as a a way to ease people into listening to jazz by using popular rhythms that are you'll hear on pop radio, pop songs, um, with jazz improvisation, jazz melody lines. So the average listener who's not a jazz aficionado can relate to it and understand it, and and therefore it appeals more to the masses. It's a good way to get people into introducing them to jazz too, because I know people that first started listening, for example, to Kenny G, and I said, well, his name's Kenny Gorlak, and he said, if you listen to the early stuff of him, he plays really some heavy duty jazz, and it gets them listening to jazz. You see, so it's a good way to get people into listening into the world of jazz.
Absolutely. That's a great answer too. It does. It's a good entree into it, and it's carved its own niche of people that just love smooth jazz too, and so many fabulous artists. Do you love being? I know you've done performances, of course, on stage as well, and you've toured. Um, is there a love for being in the studio more over being on stage and having the people there and seeing and feeling the reactions? Some people prefer the studio over the stage. Some people, you know, they like it the other way around, or some uh, they don't care. They just want to perform and they want to make music. How does it work for you, Dr. Dave? What speaks to your heart and soul more?
That's a very interesting question, and I'm gonna to explain it to you this way in terms of my stages of development as a musician. In my early days, I preferred performing over studio work. Um, as I did more studio work, I started liking them equally, and now I actually prefer studio work over live performance. The reason is because, like I said earlier, I get ideas, I get songs stuck in my head. And the only way to get them out of my head is to go in the studio and have them create the music so that everybody else can hear exactly what I've been hearing in my head. Now I no longer have that stuck in my head. It's a relief, but it's so rewarding to create something that didn't exist before that millions of people now can hear.
You have great answers. I love your answers. It's so true. I also I can relate when you're passionate about something, and when you're a creative, and when you're somebody who's always at thinking and observing and feeling deeply, I could see where you have pieces of sound, music, bits of ideas that are there circulating, and it almost becomes cathartic, therapeutic to work it out, get it out of your system, and to lay it out there and see where it lands and how people respond to it. But it's almost like a lifting of a self-imposed burden, a beautiful burden to have, but a self-imposed burden when you get it out, right?
Yes, well said. Well said. Absolutely. It's it's like after a studio session where the song is actually recorded, it's there, it's ready to go, it's ready to be mastered and put it out there on radio. It's such a relief. It's a rewarding relief, but it's a relief. It's like, oh God, now it's done. You know, it's just so rewarding, and that has taken the place of. Don't get me wrong, I love playing live, and I love the immediate gratification of playing live. I love the spontaneity of playing live. I love playing off of other musicians and the crowd getting excited about the energy that's going on stage. But it doesn't compare, to be honest, anymore to actually creating something that didn't exist before. It's like a painter painting a painting. That painting didn't exist before he painted it. It was just an idea he had. And now it's real. It's tangible. Other people can share in it.
I love that. Yeah. And that's the key to it is the other people sharing in it. And, as part of that, like you say, love collaborating and working with others. You created the House Call Band. And what a perfect name when you're Dr. Dave. How did
Yeah.
that develop? And how did you find the people to join you in this mission of creating this fabulous band with this amazing sound?
Well, the common question I'd get when people would meet me, they'd say, "What's your name?" I tell them my stage name is Dr. Dave. That's the brand. And they'd say, "Do you have a band?" And I got tired of hearing that, to be perfectly honest. And I decided, well, you know what? I'm gonna add something here. And what goes well with doctor? Well, doctors do house calls, so I'll just call it the House Call Band. And so actually, one of the albums that I came out with, I called Dr. Dave and the House Call, two separate words, House Call Band, and that was the name of the album. Um, that um, then from there, I went on and made. I think from that one, I made Cruising. I think no, yeah, it was Cruising. I think it was Cruising. And again, went back to the same old questions again. Do you have a band? So I said, you know what? I'm going to use that as my brand from now on. It's Dr. Dave and the House Call Band from now on. And that way, that answers all the questions. Besides, I noticed as I started writing music more, I started hearing horn sections that in my early days I didn't hear. And so when you're going to add horn sections to songs, it only makes sense that you give the band a name because they're providing something that I alone can't provide. And so I thought it was only fair to the guys that are playing with me to give them an identity as well. So they're the House Call Band. I'm Dr. Dave. It's Dr. Dave and the House Call Band. And when we come up, we give it a full energy, full sound, horn sections, drums, percussion, keyboard players, singers, and everything. It's a whole performance. So it didn't make sense to just say Dr. Dave anymore.
Offering up a perfect prescription for incredible music and good times, right?
Well said. By the way, I the only thing I changed on the House Call Band is I made it one word to
One
make it,
word, right?
yeah, house call. So in the initial, it was a correct grammar, which is house call, two words. But I made it one word. So that's the copyright on there. That's the way it is registered with the Library of Congress, and that's the way it is. It's Dr. Dave and the House Call Band.
That's the way it is, exactly, just as Walter Cronkite always said, "That's the way it is." Look at this shot here.
Oh
Whatever
yeah,
happened, yeah,
that's
huh?
my earlier days when I was young and handsome.
You do look like a model or a football player, I would say, from SoCal. That's great material, and of course, this too.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. That's a recent shot. Yeah.
Yeah, Carefree Revisited. Tell us about this.
Well, Carefree Revisited was when I did the song, when I did the album. Remember, I was talking about the horn sections. Um, as I listened to that, it just didn't sound complete. Even though I completed it, I was never satisfied with it. It's missing something. And then I would listen to it and listen to it and listen to it. And finally, it dawned on me what it's missing is horns. It's missing big horn section sounds to support the solos, to give their own flair to the song and their own energy to the song. And I thought, you know what, I need to redo this album. So that's when I came up with Revisited. The engineer Mike Harris had a lot of say so in that. He was a great engineer, and so we called it Dr. Dave and the HouseCall Band and Cruising, or Carefree rather. It was Carefree Revisited, Dr. Dave and the HouseCall Band. Carefree, the original Carefree was just Carefree with just Dr. Dave.
What is it about, getting up every day and just tackling it and doing it? Obviously, it brings you a lot of joy to the point that you're still doing it. You've come back with new music, which I think is awesome, which we'll talk about in a second. But what is it about it that still the blessing and joy it brings you to continue to want to make music for all of us?
Well, it falls under the category of I can't stop. I, I've taken breaks before, um, and then I can't stay away from it. It's almost it's a little bit of a compulsion. It's like I have to do this. I can't not do it anymore. Let's put it that way. I actually took a break because I was feeling a little bit of burnout. I mean, it is work, even though it's a work of passion and love. You do sometimes just need a break from work, even though you love it. And I thought maybe this is it. Maybe I just need to get out of it a while. I lasted a year, and I said, "Jesus, I got to get back into it. I miss it. I miss playing. I miss creating." And I got songs running around in my head. I got to get them out. So I have a theory. I think all musicians have a degree of masochism in them in them because it's so much work. You go through so much sacrifice and work and frustration, um, and you put yourself through that for moments of joy. I mean, just learning the instrument. Look at the years and years and years of frustration and turmoil and agitation, and oh my God, it's just for those one moments where you maybe do an appearance and everything works. And people don't realize that you just people when musicians get up and perform, you're seeing the culmination of years and years and years of dedication and and hard work and sacrifice and frustration and working through that. So I think it has to be such a passion that you can't stop from doing it anymore. It's more than just something you like to do. It's like a compulsion. You can't not do it.
Exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, it's therapeutic too, and it fills your cup, but also it reaches others. It must make you feel good too when it does reach others and people respond and you hear from them. Either they write to you or they comment online, or you bump into them at events or what have you, concerts, and they pour out their heart to how something that you did musically deeply touched them in a way and got them maybe to even look at their life differently. And it's just enriched their lives as you do what you do so well, which is not even really a job, although there's so much work involved in it. You do it for the love of it. When you're getting the icing on the cake, which is the residual of the feedback from the people who love the music, that alone must make you feel really good and make you want to do more.
It does. It is very rewarding when people tell me that they have my music. Like for example, when you told me you've heard all my music, I mean, I got to tell you that really makes me feel good because I like to think that I'm contributing to society by writing music as well. The songs, I won't last forever, but my songs will last forever. And so, creating something that will last forever is quite rewarding. And also, again, music touches people in ways that words alone can't. And to know that my music has touched a significant number of people is just, I like overwhelmingly, it involves like an overwhelming degree of pride, to be perfectly honest. So I really appreciate, to everybody and all my fans and anybody that's listened to my music, I got to say thank you very much. You've just helped to contribute to make my professional career and my life complete. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Oh, absolutely. And, love from everybody, including myself, as a result of your incredible music. And I love what you said too. Music, alone can't really touch people in the same way that words can. Or words can't in the way that music can. It was so true, huh?
Very much so. If
Yeah.
you think about, everybody's experienced this, where you heard a song on the radio, it caught you off guard, and it was an old song from years past, and all of a sudden, for a few moments, you were actually in that time machine. You actually went back to that place, and very few things can do that. It's more than just remembering. You actually, for a moment, your mind and your body were back in that place when you first heard that song, whatever special events were going on in your life.
Tell us about Reserved for Abby. This is something that is fresh, hot off the presses, that you're very excited about, and I know you're very proud of. And I think congratulations on this too, coming back out and presenting more material for us. Tell us about what was the inspiration. I know it's somebody else too that you were thinking about when you created it, huh?
Yeah, unlike Sexy Cindy was a fun song. It was fired by a young woman, but it was fun. Reserved for Abby, I was actually touring, and in my travels, I met this woman named Abby, and we really hit it off. So I wanted to, more than just invite her to come out to California and let's see where this goes. But I thought the best way to do that would be to write a song, just to let her know. That would be the best way to let her know how much meeting her moved me. And so that song, Reserved for Happy, that's where the actually the name came from. And then, of course, that was the time when I got a hold of Ronnie Laws to go ahead and play on the album. So I sent her the song, and it did work, and she did come out and visit with me. We enjoyed each other. Now, I didn't go any further than that, but it was a wonderful time, and it was a wonderful experience. And from that, I got a wonderful song.
What was it like? What was the recording process like, putting the song together?
Well, it was creative. It what I wanted to do, if you think, going back to my roots of getting into jazz with George Benson and This Masquerade, if you think about the middle part of the song where he does the jazz improvisation, um, I wanted that feel to it because it's a very sexy feel. And so in the middle of Reserved for Abby, it's a similar rhythm in the middle that has a nice pocket for a similar sexy solo like Benson did for me and Ronnie and Ronnie Laws to do. In addition to that, girls' voices. If you're going to write a romantic song about somebody, there has to be some vocals in there. It has to be something that identifies, that the person listening can hear that it's for them. And so I've always felt that female vocalists, especially background singers, are very sexy and sensual. So that added that element to it that the instruments alone couldn't provide. And I'm very happy with the balance and the way it came across, because it's now an instrumental with some vocals.
Which I love instrumentals that have some vocals in it. It it's just really, this is something that I really hope people add to their collection. It's going to be something, like you said, you've brought in some really fantastic people as part of this too. Didn't you bring in not only Freddie Hubbard and Ernie Watts, but also Carl Evans Jr.?
Yeah, Carl was
Um,
wonderful to work with. I learned a lot from Carl. What I learned the most was how to produce albums, because I
yeah.
hired him to produce the albums at the very beginning. and Carl's very good. He was very good. He's passed away now, but he
Yeah, I
was
know.
very good at teaching. And so when we're in the studio, we sit and talk, and he was constantly teaching and teaching. What he was teaching, what I was learning, it was like going to school. I was learning how to produce, and as a result of that experience with Carl, I was able to become the producer of these last three albums that we've been discussing. And in fact, there was a moment in the studio where we were doing take five, as a matter of fact. I even remember the song, and I was having the female vocalist add what's called vocal stabs to take five. And the way I asked them to do it, and the moment that I asked them to do it, all of a sudden reminded me of Carl Evans. I said, "Oh my God, that's Carl speaking through me." That I said, I've actually internalized Carl in my approach to producing. I was so proud of myself at that moment, but it was like an out of body experience. It's like Carl's here.
How amazing is that when that happens, huh? Wow.
It's
Well,
great.
he is, and his spirit is always going to be with us. And,
Yeah.
you just happened to tap into it in a beautiful way at that time, which was extraordinary. Got a little teaser clip here, just a little instrumental clip here of Dr. Dave. That's just a few seconds here, like 30 seconds, a little promo
Mhm.
here for you, gang. Take a look at this, and then we'll have a little more from our very special guest, legendary musician, guitarist, composer, contemporary jazz guitarist, one and only Dr. Dave is in the house. It's a little of reserve for Abby. Just that right there makes us say, "Sign me up, sign me up. Where can I get it?"
Isn't
Um,
it sweet? Their voices are just say it all. It's you just feel the warmth come out of them when they sing.
there's nothing like good harmony, right? When you have that perfect harmony, it just really draws you in. And this is at Spotify and all the places where people can get their music now, right? It's available now.
Yeah. Yes, it's whatever digital music outlet one listens to. Whether it's Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, it's on
iTunes.
YouTube.
Congratulations on that. There's, of course, the website too to check out more about Dr. Dave and the HouseCall Band and everything that's
Mhm.
going on, and music and so much more. We've been showing that throughout the show, sprinkling in the website there. Congratulations. I'm just, they always say that you talked about music that harkens you back to an earlier time in your life, whether it's your childhood, your first love, holidays with the family, whatever it may be. And there, you do hear certain songs that take you back in time. Um, there's just something that washes over you that's really extraordinary. Even commercials. I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. Don't you want to be a pepper? There could be certain jingles and things too that we still remember. TV show theme songs, film scores. Have you dabbled in those worlds over the years as well? Jingles, commercials, film, television. Have you been called upon to work in those worlds as well with your incredible music prowess?
I have noticed that I got royalties from commercials, TV commercials, and radio commercials in Europe, in Japan, in other countries. Um, there was a local commercial many years ago for a car dealership. They used some of my music. So my music has been used on the commercial market.
That's really cool, and you're hearing that a lot now too. It could be a commercial for, I don't know, an arthritis medicine or something, and all of a sudden you'll hear something underneath the music. You're like, "Wait a minute, that's from a song that came out in 1974 that they're using
Mhm.
underneath that medicine commercial." It's amazing the repurposing. How about have you dabbled in writing for television, writing for film? Is that something that has interested you as well?
Uh, Actually, interesting you say that. I did the song with Freddie Hubbard. The features Freddie Hubbard is called Rubber Rabbit. I actually wrote that as a with the idea of a car chase scene. While this playing in the background, and we're watching the police chase this bad guy, for example, through a city, and that's what was going through my mind when I wrote the tune Rubber Rabbit, featuring Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, the great Freddie Hubbard. It was wonderful to play with him. So you might want to listen to that. That's now we're going back to my old stuff on the album Smooth, but it never did make it to the film. No. So the short answer is I have not written any original music for films, but one of them was written for film. It just never made it to the film.
What have you not done in this illustrious career, Dr. Dave, that you still want to do as you're, back out there now and new music and reconnecting with everyone and everything? What are some other things that you still have on that list of, it'd be kind of cool if I did this or did more of that or tried this for the first time? Are there things out there on that Dr. Dave prescription list?
Well, I'm working on the rest of the album that Reserved for Abby is on. I'm probably going to call the album Reserved for Abby. And I'm in the process now of me and John Rekovics, who's an outstanding saxophonist. He does all the horn arrangements, and he did all the horn arrangements on all my music, actually. And we're doing that right now. So we're working on the horn arrangements. There's a song on there called Speed that we just finished the horn arrangements on it. It really just changed the whole flavor of the song. So that's what we're working on now. I don't really think in the future too far in advance. I actually approach music from the standpoint of today. So today, what am I feel like I'm motivated to do? Right now, I'm motivated to finish this album. When this album's done, I'm sure there'll be something else I'm obsessing on that I'll have to finish. And I'm sure it will be new music.
Exactly right. Absolutely. Congratulations on it, my friend. This really is very exciting. And I know super fans are excited to see more music coming from you and those who have been devoted to you and your music all these years. And we're talking about a couple of decades at least now. And they're excited to hear new music from you. And I'm sure this is just a restart of new music that's going to continue to flow out of you, which I don't doubt. And I know you're not really doing any touring now because you're in the studio, you're creating the music. Is there a plan to do some of that in the future? A couple of dates here and there at certain places? People, I'm sure they would love to have you and the HouseCall Band back out there, huh?
Yeah, I like to do one thing at a time. So right now, my focus is on finishing this album that we reserved for Abby. As soon as that album's finished, then I'm sure that Tom Astay and myself will get together and we'll discuss uh, uh, maybe jazz festivals or some tours, performances, and things like that. But right now, I think what we're looking at is just to start off with is maybe few television appearances, a few radio interviews, you're gracious enough to have me on your program, which I appreciate it very much. Things like this. But yes, there will be some live performances around the corner. I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Focused on the music, which is perfect, Dr. Dave. There again is the website. And again, go to Spotify and everywhere you can find your music and get Reserved for Abby. And of course, all the other music that Dr. Dave has created for all of our listening pleasure and enjoyment all these years. And of course, you can find him on the socials as well. Dr. Dave, it was terrific to have you in the house, the Jim Masters Show house, or as our viewers call it, Lovety Hall. And a real pleasure and an honor, as somebody who has thoroughly enjoyed conversing with you, and not what we call interviews, but I call these warm Johnny Carson, Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin style conversations, and to learn more about you and to learn about what, where you pull your inspiration, your energy from that gets all this music out there for all of us. And also, as somebody who's an admirer of your work and has lots of it in the collection, it was really cool to welcome you to our show here, the Jim Masters Show. And I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you, Doctor.
I have very much so. And music is a way of connecting with people. And without people like Jim Masters to have a program out there to let all the millions of people out there know that we exist, they're not going to hear the music. So I very much appreciate you having me on your show.
The pleasure is all mine. As I say to all the guests, Dr. Dave, we're going to keep the porch light on for you too. You're welcome back anytime, and keep me posted. And when you're here in the New York area on the East Coast, let me know as well, and we'll come root you on. It'll be a pleasure to shake your hand. And I really appreciate all your generosity of time stopping by the Jim Master Show as well. And congratulations on everything thus far and all the new stuff happening for you as well, my friend.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You be well. You take care and keep the music playing, my friend. We want more.
Thank you.
You be well.
You too.